everywhere, if you see in the world, we have fundamentals, right? For to construct a building, we have the fundamental of raising the pillars, then putting the uh, ceiling. That's how it's done, and that's a fundamental way of doing the or creating a structure. The same way for a database, the fundamentals, it says according to the asset properties. And if you guys are taking notes, if you have time, please read about database asset properties, ACID. A stands for atomicity, and um, AC. And guys, in the ACID, honestly, I only know about A. For others, I always forget the acronym. So nevertheless, if you are reading about ACID properties of a database, what you do is, what ACID property states that is, at any point of time, you want to give a user a consistent read on the data. Now, what does that mean? See guys, if you are presenting something, it has to be perfect, or it has to be committed inside the database. I'll give you one example. Let's take a user created a table and the user inserted 10 records, but the user never committed it. In the other session, if there is a user 2 who is trying to select the records from the table, it will always show blank, because until unless the user 1 commits, like a data must be committed inside the Oracle database in order to show a consistent copy. Now this works across the DML commands, like whether it is insert, update, or delete. Of course, I'm going to show you a lot of examples now, and we all will enjoy those examples. Um, if you do not commit, then still the other users will see a different data, or maybe the old data. Now you might always debate on this, like why is it like this? Because it is, that's how it is, right? Let's say you give your computer or your system, your server, to a technician, uh, and in between you say, hey, I want to log into my system, can I log in? He would always say, hey, let me complete my job, let me give you assurance that I'm done with my job, then you can of course play around with your system. And that's how it is with the data. If one user is working with the data, then Oracle needs to allow that user to complete the data modifications and tell Oracle that, okay, I commit. That means like how you commit in a relationships, right? And that's how you have to commit to Oracle, saying like, okay, my changes to this data are done. Now what happens once the user commits? Everyone on the database who logs in or who's uh, logged into the database, they will be able to see the committed data. So one of the biggest properties of ACID properties, okay, one of the biggest properties of ACID properties is that you need to show committed or consistent data to all your users. You can never show a data that is being worked upon. Now the question comes in how Oracle maintains this consistency, and that's where locks and latches comes into picture. Of course, latches, I have already talked about it. It is in instance level. When one instance component is speaking to other instance component, it creates latches. All right. So we are of course not talking about latches right now. We are into locks. Locks are fundamental to the Oracle database. Without locks, it is always a challenge. So let us look at some examples, and then we'll build up the examples inside the real database. So guys, we have user A and then user B. Guys, can anyone who is a fresher or who has attended my SQL session only, can anyone unmute themselves? Because I want to have a one-on-one discussion with the fresher DBA or somebody who has never worked as a DBA. Okay, Kichi, can you unmute yourself? We'll have a good discussion. So guys, user 1 issued a create table statement, okay? And user B issues a select statement. Okay. What will happen? What will user B will see? Will the user B get an error that table is not created because this user A did not commit, or the user B will be able to see the table saying no rows selected? What will happen, Ikechi, at this point?
If user A did not commit,
Mhm.
user B is not going to see anything,
Okay, so you mean to say user B will get an error saying
isn't
like
it?
table does not exist?
Yes.
Okay. Ahmed, can you help Ikechi understand what will happen in this scenario?
Uh, normally all DLL command is auto-committed,
Mhm.
and when user A creates table, the user B, when he fires select star, he will have no row selected because the table is created and not populated with data.
Right, perfect. So thanks, Ahmed, for volunteering. Ikechi, so Ikechi, can you explain what did you understand in this scenario?
Okay. Yeah. What I understand is that user A, when he created the table, is auto commit. So if it's auto commit, that means all the work are committed. So user B could have access to them when he does select
Right.
statement.
So always remember when it comes to the database, first you need to define the type of the statement. So all the DDL statements are auto commit. Okay. So if you are creating a table, immediately every user, if they give select star, they will be able to see the table, but it will say as no records selected because there are no records. Now user A insert, sorry, insert two records. Okay, still the user A did not issued the commit. User B executes again the select star. What will happen? Come on, Ikechi. You are the focus
Yeah.
for the day.
Okay. Yeah. So if he inserts two records, okay,
Mhm.
if there's no auto commit, user B will not be able to see anything. But if there's an auto commit, okay, yeah, if if there's no auto commit, user B
Correct.
will not be able to select anything.
Correct. So in this, okay, what I would do is actually, I would mention number of rows. Okay, and this one 0, and this one 0. Now exactly all the DML commands, they are not auto commit. So what you have to do is like insert, update, delete. The user A needs to commit into the relationship with Oracle. Like it has to say, okay, I commit, I will marry Oracle, I will marry this table. It has to commit. So without that commitment, like Oracle will not allow the world to see that relationship. So if user A issues commit, then exactly at this point user B, it will, I mean, he or she will be able to see two records, right? And Akechi, after commit, the user A issues rollback. What will happen?
Yeah, if it issues rollback, um, user B will not be able to see anything.
Okay. Ahmed though, or not Ahmed, I'll pick up someone else. Dennis, would you like to help Akechi? What will happen in this case? Dennis, I'm not sure if Dennis, Francis, would you like to help Akechi understand what will happen?
Sure. Ikechi, what will happen is since you've issued a commit already, the records have been committed to the database. So in the same session, if you do a rollback, it doesn't have any impact. So you still see the two records.
Okay, well, I understand that once commit is already done,
All right.
it's reflected in the database. So even if you issue a rollback,
Yeah.
if user B tries to access, he will still see the records.
Correct. Like in Oracle database, you cannot run rollback over commit or commit over rollback. If you have issued one, then you cannot roll back. All right. So if you have already committed that this is committed data, you can't run rollback over commit or commit over rollback. This doesn't happen. So at this stage, this rollback will still leads to two records. The user B will still see two records in the output because there is no meaning of this rollback. And now let us continue, right? Great example. So at this stage, guys,
Thank you, Aaron.
no worries. Yeah. Now we are slowly getting into locks. What happens is when you try to insert inside the database, insert, update, delete, DML commands, they are not auto commit. DDL commands, they have internal auto commit. So if you create a table, it is created. You don't need to issue a commit after a DDL. Okay, don't do that. It has auto commit. Now the question is, like, I'm trying to build up some scenarios for you guys to understand. Let us assume we have a table, we created a test table, okay? And guys, all the experienced DBS, please be patient because I am taking through very silly examples to build up this lock scenario because this is very important. If you already know the answers, please be patient to listen through all the examples. So we are creating the test table, right? And the test table creates, or inside the test table, we have two columns. One is ID column, which is primary key, and then I have value column, and which is varchar. Okay. Now, okay, I'll pick up Ikechi again. So Ikechi, in the user A created this table, user A is inserting a record, okay? The record is 1 comma, value is test, all right? And the user, okay, we'll keep it like this. The user B also knows that, okay, this table is created. Okay, let me try to insert a record in this test table because it is created by my friend and the user is issuing this command, test value. What will happen to user B? AKG, don't worry, even if you're wrong, I appreciate because it always takes guts to speak up. So
Okay, if user B didn't get any permission, he will not be able to work on it.
okay, forget about permissions. The user B has all the permissions, then what?
Okay, he could work on it. He couldn't start.
Okay, now that's the question. Over here, atomicity is compromised. User A is also inserting a record, and you know this primary key rule, right? If you have a primary key, you cannot insert same value or uh, same value record inside the database. Like two IDs cannot be same. Over here, you are seeing the first user is trying to insert primary key as 1. The second user is also trying to insert with the same primary key as 1. So what will happen in this case? This user did not issue commit. What will happen?
Um, okay.
Now, do you feel these are the scenarios we actually deal in real time? Can you feel the heat? No.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I think I would pick up Suryakant. Would you like to help Ikechi understand what would happen?
So if the first user A did not issue a commit, that means user B could go ahead and work on it because there was no records. Yes.
No, but see, user A issued the insert, and of course, once the insert is done, what Oracle would show? Insert, oh sorry, it will show like one row inserted, right?
Yeah.
Always Oracle shows something like this.
Yeah.
That means if Oracle has given this output and then you are at SQL prompt, that means this row has already been created, right? It's done.
Right.
It's there inside the database. So what happens to session B? Let us understand. Suryakant, would you like to help Ikechi?
Yes, sir. And actually, it will allow the insert, but when we try to commit, it will throw an error.
No. We'll pick up Alex. Yeah, we'll pick up Alex. Alex, would you like to help Ikechi? Alex, I think.
Can I try?
Hey, Dennis, go ahead. No problem. I think Alex is busy. Yeah.
Sorry, I was talking to myself. Okay. Okay.
Go ahead.
So when that user issues that commit, then it takes in the undo table space. So he gets thrown an error when user B tries to put something in there. And then the database will hang until you kill that user session.
No, let's keep it simple. Let's not get undo in between yet. So the simple is
I can answer.
1 minute, guys. Let's go one by one. Let me pick up the people and then we'll continue. So sorry, Ahmed. I'll come to you because we are going through a lot of examples right now. So guys, Alex, coming to your point, the user A issued the insert. Oracle says one row inserted. And this is the SQL prompt. User B is inserting the same record. User B hits an enter. What happens at this stage? That's the main question.
User B cannot insert the values because still only when user A commits.
I'm sorry I had to mute you because guys, I'll pick up the people because let's make it interesting, okay? So Alex, what do you think, what will happen? Guys, I want you to be vulnerable. Even if you're wrong, take the courage to be wrong because this type of session you will never get. So Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, so if a user inserts, if he's inserting the same statement, so if he's inserting the statement in there, I guess it'll commit, but it won't show.
Okay, that's okay. I think let me pick up someone else. So Suryakant, go ahead. What will happen?
It will throw in constant error for user B.
Okay. I would consider that answer. Let me pick up someone else. Matthew, I'm not sure if he would be able to unmute and jump in.
Hello.
1 minute, guys. Yes, Matthew, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it will insert and it won't show any error, but when it's time to commit, it will throw an error.
Okay. I would again consider that answer. Now it's open for all. Anyone can jump in and answer.
Yeah, it will not allow to insert because primary key constraint, no? It will not allow value.
I think it will allow. This is what I...
No, user.
So two sessions.
Okay.
Inserted.
No, user B.
Let's go one by one. Ahmed, go ahead.
Yes, the user B will be locked because the table is the user A not committed his SQL statement.
Okay.
So I think user B is going to hang till user A rolls back or commits.
Okay.
And then there's either going to be an error or it's just going to allow it to do the insert.
Okay, I would consider that. Yes, Sid, you have something to add?
Yeah, yes. So when he is not committing means only that record will not be available for other user. Otherwise, still he can able to insert new records, or he can able to access the data, but he cannot see the transaction which is not committed by other user.
No,
So-
Sid, I would want to draw your attention to the specific question. What happens when the user B hits enter? What will happen over here? This is the question.
He was able to insert.
Okay, so I got mixed answers. Anyone else want to try? Suryakant, you have something?
Yeah, I don't know. It will throw error with the resource is busy. I think acquired row lock or something kind of.
Okay, so guys,
Let me just say something before.
sure.
I just an idea like it's gonna still commit the data, but it's not gonna override. If user B want to insert data, it's gonna insert it, but it's not gonna override the data for A because the A did not commit. It's not gonna throw an error. It's still gonna take the data.
Okay. Guys, amazing answers like from variety of dimensions. Even some of them I did not thought, but I always encourage always have guts to be wrong, guys. I think that teaches you a lot and increases your confidence. Even if you're wrong, always take pride that you were able to open up. Okay. Sorry if somebody was feeling uncomfortable. I was randomly picking up, but that's okay. Guys, I want to take one more example over here, just to complicate this scenario, because forget about locks. I'm actually enjoying this session. Okay. We have user A, user B. All right. Now take this scenario. I'm writing our old example. Let's take table is created. Table, let's take test table. Sorry. All right. So we have this test table, and I'll mute everyone, guys. User A, this table is newly created. Forget about our old example. I'm writing the example again. So insert 1 comma val 1, that's value 1, and Oracle says like one row inserted. Okay, this is done. Now in user B session, this is where again we'll have a discussion. User B is issuing insert 2 comma val 2, enter. What will happen at this situation? And consider that same ID is a primary key, and then we have a value column that is varchar. What will happen once the user B issues or hits an enter?
One row inserted.
Okay.
Data gets inserted.
Okay. We'll pick up Ikechi. Ikechi, what do you think what will happen?
It's going to accept it because user A never inserted 2.
Sorry?
It's going to, for user B, is going to accept it because
Okay.
user A did not insert 2 in his own
Okay.
yeah.
All right. How about you, Suryakant?
Yeah, both insert will go because they're independent of, both are independent of transactions.
Perfect.
Because Oracle manage locked in row level, not in table level.
Perfect. So we are so at this stage, guys, if you look at both the transactions, first of all, component is primary key, and primary component needs to be validated. At this stage, user 2 is inserting a record that has a unique primary key value. Hit enter, one row inserted, so insert will happen. Amazing. All right. Now the user A still did not commit. Okay. Now this is very important. User B issues another insert and primary key 1 comma val 1 hits enter. What will happen at this stage?
Nothing. The user B will be hang.
Okay. Yes, Suryakant. This is same
Yes,
example.
it will
Like
create a deadlock situation.
No, we are not talking about deadlocks now. So
The data will get inserted because the first user did not still commit.
okay. And any other guesses, guys?
I don't, again, it is a row lock situation, Arun. It will throw an error like resource is busy, something.
Okay. Alex, so would you like to try this question again?
I think the same as well, that because user A has not committed yet, that the user B will have the command running, but until user A actually commits, user B will not be able to show the same table that their command has committed when they try to actually show all the information for the columns and rows.
Okay, Simon, would you like to try the answer?
Yeah, actually user B should give a error with the duplicate error probably.
Okay, so guys, this is something I think even before locks, I think this is something you need to learn. Okay, over here atomicity is being compromised, and now you might say, come on, Arun, how atomicity is being compromised? As I mentioned, I think one of the simplest ways to work with locks or the database, let's not even talk about the locks right now, is always remember the laptop example that I gave. You gave laptop for repair and your brother goes and asks the person, the technician, hey, can I use the laptop? What would technician say? He would definitely say, wait until I complete the repair, right? Exactly same situation we'll have over here. There are two people, two brothers, two brothers, correct. Two brothers who are working on same stuff. There is a laptop which has an ID number 1. Guys, I might be taking some vague examples, but we are trying to understand the situation. There is a laptop which has an ID number 1, which is being worked on by user A who never committed. Okay. So in the laptop shop, if the user B or your brother goes and asks the technician that, hey, can I use the laptop? What will be the answer? The answer will be, let me complete finishing the repair, right? So your brother will wait. So the same thing happens over here. This session will wait, okay? Now, why it will wait? There is a very big reason over here. The wait will be because see, if this user, there are two scenarios over here, right? User might commit, user might roll back. You never know. The user might commit or user might roll back. So in this case, if user commits, then let's take if user A commits and user B is trying to insert a record with same primary key inside the database. So it's an error, right? It's a primary key violation error. Perfect. And if the user rolls back, let's take user says roll back this transaction, what happens? Then this user who's trying to insert a record with primary key 1, inside this table there is no ID column that contains the value 1 that satisfies the primary key condition. Insert will proceed. All right. Once again, guys, if you didn't get the scenario, until this user A committed or roll back, the user A inserted a record 1. But what happens is this insert is done. Oracle is saying that insert is done. One record is inserted. But meanwhile, Oracle is also holding a lock on the record. All right. Now the user 2 is trying to insert the record 1, but Oracle identifies that there is another record inside the database which already exists. Okay, which already exists, and the ID number is 1. So Oracle is not able to decide should it proceed further or should it throw an error because there is a primary key involved. So there are two scenarios over here. There is an already existing record with the same ID number and there is a key value or a primary key also involved. At this stage, this user goes on wait because Oracle doesn't know what to do. This user, now you might have a question, till when the user will wait? The user will have to wait until your laptop technician says that, okay, it's ready. So that means the user has to wait until the user A commits or roll back. There is no other option, and that's how it works. Okay. So this is a typical scenario, a simplest scenario of starting locks. And guys, I want you to try this out in your lab. Try to open 2 putty sessions and try to execute and work on this. This will actually give you some great ideas. And I think why not do it right away? I'll show you this example right on my screen. and we'll try to create or open multiple windows. Okay. So let me clear the screen. SQL plus /sysdba. Sorry guys, because I want you guys to know locks so well, so I'm starting from very silly examples. If it bothers you that I'm consuming your time, apologies. So let us start. So create table, and meanwhile, let me open a duplicate session. Guys, the more you're clear with how transactions work inside Oracle, the more you become a good performance expert. This is actually very important. So create table, what do we name it? Test table, and I'll use ID number as number and value as varchar 220, and then let's create the table. All right, so this is session 1 guys, and this is session 2. So Ikechi, like I mentioned earlier, DML commands are auto commit, right? So in another session, we are connected to the database from a different session. So assume that this is a different user also, if the user has the access. So select star from test underscore table. What should happen? It will show us no record selected. That means if you're issuing DML commands, they are auto commit. So we created a table and the other user is right away able to query the table. We can check the structure of the table also. Perfect. Till here everything is fine. Now let us produce our scenario. Okay. Insert into, this is a DDL command. Insert into test underscore table values and ID number 1. Value is what do we say? Value 1, and let us close this one. Okay, 1 row created. Remember, I did not commit yet. Now in this session 2, I am executing exactly same, or let us make it more complicated. Insert into test underscore table values. I'm inserting record with value 2, and let's give a value as val2. What should happen? It should insert, right? 1 row created. Perfect. Amazing. Now what I'm doing is let's take okay, now let me make it more complicated. So guys, in session 1, now that I haven't committed this record, if I issue select star from test underscore table, and if I hit enter, what will I see? It's open for all. Anyone can answer. I did
You
not
just see 1 record.
Nothing.
Row will not show.
1 record.
Okay. So let us pick up home. Ikechi, you are the spotlight man. What will happen? And what will happen if I issue select star from test table in session 2? Yes, Ikechi, would you like to answer?
Yes. In session 1, it's gonna it's gonna select one and 1 and value 1.
No, not the second record, but it is already.
I'm talking about the first record.
Sorry?
I'm talking about the first session, the first level.
Okay, so you are saying like only first row will be shown.
Yes.
Okay, Suryakant, would you like to try this question?
So user will see this one row 1 and user B will show this value 2. See.
Perfect. Simon, you have something?
Yes, actually user 1 will also show the 1 record, and user B, I believe, also show the 1 record because of none of these user committed the record yet.
Okay, good one. Alex, would you like to try the answer?
I have the same thing as the gentleman before. The same thing. The user 1 will show the record for the user because it's in the memory, and the user 2 will show the record for the value 2 because that's in memory until they commit
Okay. How about Sid? What do you think?
Actually, I was wrong before. It's the same session, right? One record on each session, that whatever they inserted.
Yeah, you just what you're seeing is exactly same. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what will happen for user one?
One record.
Will it see the value one or value two?
Value one, since it's the session.
And for session two?
Value two.
Okay. Why not this select command will show both the records because they are already inserted, right?
They haven't yet written into the disk. They are not committed there.
Correct. So guys, I'll hit enter and I think you will be able to see yourself. In the session one, I'm hitting enter. The session one, because we have inserted the record, now you might argue like, Arun, but the user did not commit. Of course, the user did not commit, but you want to see your work, right? If you see your work and if you say, okay, I'm satisfied with my work, then only you will issue commit, correct? So if you're not able to see the work and only after committing you will see the work, that might be a wrong work, correct? So what Oracle allows you is, even though you did not commit, but it will allow you to see the things as they will look when you will commit. I repeat, whenever you're working with Oracle, it will show you in your session as the things will look when you commit. So at this stage, if I issue commit, this will be stored inside the database. All right. On session 2, I hit enter. Now what happened? For this user in this session, when this insert was done, this value 1 was never committed by user 1. So atomicity is very important. If this user commits, then only user 2 will see both the records, right? Now at this stage, user 2 is seeing what changes user 2 has done inside the database. So user 2 inserted record 2. Forget about what user 1 is doing. It is completely separate stuff, right? User 1 is in a different world. User 2 is in a different world. In world 1, user inserted value 1. So they are seeing their work, but it is not yet committed. If the commit happens, then how the data is looking, it will be exactly same. But if the commit happens in session 1, the session 2, if you reissue the select star from test table, now that value 1 is committed, the session 2 will see 2 records, but there is a catch. Still the value 2 will not be seen by session 1 because this user never committed. All right. So of course, guys, we are not dealing with commits and rollbacks now. So I'll switch to locks because that's important to us. But I would want you to play around with things like this. You create scenarios in your test lab. All right. Now our job is to create a lock. So how do we create a lock? What I'm trying to do is user 1 inserted this record, right? I'll copy this statement and I will paste this statement in the second session and I'll hit enter. What will happen at enter? Come on guys. Error or what will happen? The user 1 never committed.
Wait.
There'll be no
It'll
error.
just wait,
because there's
yeah.
no primary key.
It will let you, since we haven't defined the primary key.
You have to wait.
All right.
So when you press that, yeah, it's just gonna continue just running and you'll just look at it until that user commits and then it'll finally execute.
Right. I'll hit enter and then see what happened just now.
It is not defined as a primary key.
Yeah, there will be duplicate data, but you're able to see that data.
Right. So at this stage, sorry guys, I was trying to confuse you all. So for people who couldn't understand what happened, at this stage, see in this scenario, when we created the table, we never defined the ID column as primary key. So if we are not defining it as a primary key, definitely any data is okay, right? So if I issue select star from test underscore table, what will happen at this stage?
Two records.
Mm-hmm.
You see two records.
Okay. So we are seeing two records. And if I issue commit in the session 1, what will happen?
Well, it depends on what you look. You see three records on both sides. No, you see one record on one and you see two records on two because.
Okay. So at this stage, I committed the transaction in session 1. In session 2,
you see three records.
Hit enter. We are seeing three records, right? But in session 1, I am executing select star from test table. Hit enter. What happens?
Record.
Right. So I would actually pick up Sid. Would you like to explain us what happened at this stage?
Yeah. Session 2 was not yet committed, so hence we are able to see all the data that he inserted and that one record that was from different session where he. So that's why we have three records here.
Right.
But in session 1 we are seeing only one because session 2 hasn't yet committed, even though he inserted two records, which are available only that session, not any other sessions.
Right. So I would pick Ikechi. You're the spotlight man. What do you think? What happened at this stage?
Yes, I intend to align with the last speaker because in session 2 it was not committed. So session 1 is not going to reflect in session 1.
Perfect. Now, what I would do is, guys, I'll quickly commit on the session 2, hit enter. And at this stage in the session 2, I'll run this command again. Can you see before commit, as I mentioned, Oracle will show you how things will look after you commit. It's your wish. You can roll back also. So this command gave you how things will look after commit. You committed and you see the same stuff, right? So don't get confused. Like before commit, you might always argue like, if it is not committed, why Oracle showing me uncommitted data? But you need to see the data. Otherwise, how would you commit it? In session 1, now that session 2 has committed, when you commit, entire world is able to see your data. That means this user, the session 1, will also be able to see the data. Now, can you see the other two records have been, they are already there. Now, let us recreate the scenario by creating a table with a primary key, and quickly I'll directly get into the record 1 issue and see create table test_1 and then ID number, number, primary key, and then let us start with value varchar 2 and then 20. All right, table created. Insert into test1 values. Now I'm inserting 1 comma val1 or we'll keep it different, 9999. Okay, so we are inserting this value and I am running the same command in session 2. So guys, how many of you are saying like it will throw in primary key error? And how many would say it would not throw an error and it will wait?
It will not throw error.
It will not throw an error until you commit.
It will not throw error. It will wait.
It will wait.
Right. You can see I just hit enter and you can see like this command will continue to wait. It's just waiting. You can hit enter. Oracle will never allow you because over here data is being compromised. The user 1 is trying to insert a record. User 2 is inserting the same record with the same value which is defined as primary key. At this stage, this session is waiting. This session is blocking. Okay, This is how we call it. So of course there is a lock over here on the record number 1. So when it comes to locks, of course it is about the records or the table that has been locked, but as a DBA you work on one layer above. All right, let me explain you. Don't worry, we'll let this one continue to wait and then we'll come back later. All right. As a DBA, you do not work at the lock layer. Okay, guys, this is pretty important. Layer 1 and then layer 2. You have different types of locks. So you have row level lock, you have table level lock. All right, you have different, these are major two, like row level lock and table level lock. All right. You as a DBA, you do not have control on the locks. Remember this. You cannot, what do you call, upgrade a lock from row level to table level lock, or you cannot downgrade from table level lock to row level lock. Okay, so before I get into this one, let us talk about row level locks and table level locks. So when a user is trying to update some records or multiple records inside the table, then only those records are locked by Oracle, because the benefit is the other records are still available for other users to update and perform other actions, right? So that's the beauty, because see, if you have 1 million rows and for every update statement, you're locking the entire table. That means what will happen? No other user will be able to update simultaneously. So locking an entire table is foolish. Like that's not a good concept. The beauty is whenever you're updating or modifying anything inside the database, only those locks, those records are locked by the user who's trying to modify the records. So there are locks that are row level. Now, what are table level locks? Table level locks generally apply when you're working with columns. So if you are working at a column level, you're altering an entire column, you're modifying a column, those a point of time you have table level locks. But again, this is debatable. The question is, who decides what type of lock should be given? It is completely in the hands of Oracle. Okay, you don't work at the lock levels. That's why I mentioned layer 1 and layer 2. I'll come to layer 2 in some time. So whenever you're working or executing a query, Oracle defines the type of lock to be given. If your query is impacting the entire table or at least 95 or 98% of the table, it would pretty much go for a table level lock rather than row lock. But if you have a query that is going for some records update, it will actually go for a row level lock. But again, what type of lock will be given? It is decided by Oracle. So at lock level, the way the locking mechanism happens, the way locks are assigned, the way which lock will be given, this is all in hands of Oracle. So you might have this question like, okay, Arun, if everything is handled by Oracle, why are we learning about locks? The thing is, you will be working in layer 2. What is layer 2? Layer 2 is with every lock that happens inside the database, there are two types of sessions that might come up. One is blocker, and then there will be waiter. I think that's not the correct term, but okay. There will be a session that will go on wait, because there will always be a session if there is a lock and two people are trying to work on the same data, then there will be a blocker, a session that is blocking, and there will be a session that is waiting. Okay, I think we'll not use these terms, guys. We'll have blocking, because these are good terms, right? And waiting. We'll use these terms. So anytime there is a lock, of course, every transaction Oracle will give the user a lock. But if there is another user who is working on the same record, same data, which is already locked by the other user, then this situation arises. There is a blocking session, there is a waiting session, and that is where DBA is required. DBA is not required at layer 1. DBA is required at layer 2. You will be working with sessions which are blocking other sessions to complete their transaction, or you would work with sessions which are waiting as to why they are waiting. Now I'm actually comparing our hypothesis with this diagram. Sorry, not the diagram. Where are our sessions? Now can you see? This has become a blocking session inside the database. This has become a waiting session inside the database. As a DBA, you do not work at lock levels. You work at session levels. Now the situation for a DBA is to deal with the blocker and the waiter. This is your job. The question starts, how do you deal with this problem? Now, many a times inside the database, and guys, before I complete the other idea, see, this is insert, update, delete. All the DDL commands, the problem is same. So if there is another user trying to update the same record, another user also trying to update the same record, this is the exact situation they will enter in. All right, so this is just an example with insert. I would want you to practice examples with updates and deletes also. Okay, so as a DBA, your job is to identify the blocker and identify the waiter. Now, this is something happens many a times in real time. The application team guys or the people using the database, they will call the DBA team unnecessarily without knowing how things work, and they will tell you, hey man, your database is slow, my query is not running. You never know, they have entered into a waiting session, or there is another session that is blocking the other user. This is something as a DBA you have to resolve the issue. All right, so see, this user A might be a different person, user B might be, or user A might be from US, user B might be from India, and both are accessing the same database, and this situation in real time does happen. So as a DBA, what's your job? Your job at this stage, of course guys, I'll come back to locks when we are reading or learning performance tuning tomorrow. At this stage, your job is to identify blockers and waiters inside the database. So I am opening a completely new session so that I want to know who is the blocker and who is waiting, or who is blocking and who's waiting, right? So SQL plus / SSDBA. As I mentioned guys, this user is from US, this user is from India. Now in this case, we can see all the three sessions on my screen. So I can say this is the blocker, this is the waiter, but in real time, this session will be in US, this is in India, and you're sitting in Singapore. So how would you know which session is blocking which other session? Now for this, I have queries, and I use all these queries in my real-time scenarios. So if you just type locks, I think you should get there are a lot of articles on locks, but this one is my favorite. Find lock tables inside Oracle. I think the the name should be different. It's not tables. It should be finding blockers and waiters. I think that should be the topic of the article. But that's okay. We'll keep it like this because a lot of people search by lock tables, so that's good for search engine. So what we have done is for you guys, I have also created a simple lock scenario. Like, can you see? It's the exact same thing what we are doing. So in session 1, we did not commit the transaction. Session 2 is trying to insert a record with same primary key value. Session 2 goes on wait until session 1 issues commit or rollback. This is the exact situation that we are in. Session 2 is waiting. Session 1, I don't know, that guy went on a break. So our job as a DBA is to first, step 1 is to find, are there any locks inside the database? If there are locks, then who is the blocker and who's blocking and who's waiting. Okay, so where is the article? So how do you find the block sessions? That's the next question. So guys, there are a lot of queries. There are a lot of queries online also. It's up to you which query you feel comfortable with. So what I did is I included my top queries that I love to see the results. So this query will give me the session which is blocking and the session that has been blocked. So that means technically we are getting blocking and waiting session. This name should be waiting session. So guys, the waiting and block session, these two terms are used interchangeably. So don't get confused. If I say session is waiting or if I say session is blocked, it is one and the same because it is waiting for this user to complete the transaction, or this session is blocked because I can't do anything. So whether I use waiting or blocked, it is one and the same. But this session will always be the blocking one because it is blocking this user way. So let me run this query, guys. This query is important and I love this query because at one shot it will tell you the session ID. Okay, so these session IDs are very important. So we can say that, okay, session ID 40 is blocking the session 28, or I can say session 28 is waiting for session 40 to issue commit or rollback. I can say either ways. Okay, so this is query one. At one shot it will give you the blocking session and the waiting session. I have another query that can help you find the blocking and blocked sessions. This query is good. This will give you a English statement which is human readable. Like you might say, Arun, we don't understand 40 and 28. So you run this command and this will give you an amazing statement saying like sys user at the rate, it will give you the IP address or the host name, and it will give you the SID that is 40. What is SID? I'll talk about it in some time. Is blocking the sys user who has logged in from this host name with SID number 28. All right. So the beauty about this command is you can also get to know which user is logged in from which server. So this way I can say, oh, this server is in US and this server is in India. Okay, this US server, the sys user logged in from this server in US is blocking the sys user who is logged in from the India.
Hello, Arun.
Yes, Ikechi.
Yeah. In real life, these commands, in real life, these commands that we are picking from DBA Genesis website, how do we apply them in real life? Because in real life, in our various places of work, we won't have access to DBA Genesis to pick out these commands. So how do we do it?
Good question. I think for that you need to, you can open our website on mobile and then type it. As simple as that. So there is a funny story actually. I had an interview, now that you tell. So I was in an interview when I was looking for my first job change. The interviewer asked me like what you will do if you don't have document library in the environment. How will you resolve an issue? So it actually started like, how do you resolve an issue? I said like, definitely you might have a document library. I'll look at documents and resolve the issue. Then he said, what if document library is not there? Then I said, I'll look on Google. Then he said, what if Google Access is not there? I said, I'll try to message my friends and get the answer. I'll call my friends. Then they said, what if mobile is not allowed in the environment? Then I said, I'll ask the fellow DBAs who are working in the team. Then he asked, what if the fellow DBAs are not there and you are alone in the night shift? Then I said, I'll definitely speak to the client over chatting because he will be available during the night time because it is India and US. Then he said like, what if the client is not available? Then I said like, I would not work in such an environment. So definitely that was a funny story and that guy hired me because of this answer. That's a stupid answer, but still. So for you, what you can do is you can always watch it on mobile and type it and use it.
Thank you.
All right. So this query is amazing. If you want to know the server, if you want to know which server, which user, who is blocking whom. Okay. Now, this query is also awesome, guys. How do you find the waiting time? Like for how long the user is waiting? This is very important in real time. Who is blocking whom is secondary question. The primary question is for how long the block is happening. And this query is what will give you the details. Like if I hit enter, can you see this one? Blocking session ID is 40, block session is 28, blocking serial number. Okay, don't worry about this. Why do we have it? You will understand in some time. And then wait time. This is important in minutes. So this block session 28 is waiting from past 20 minutes. All right. And if you are not sure, I'll open those sessions and you can see this session is still waiting because the user one, this guy went on tea break. So we can't help it. And this user is complaining the DBA team, hey, my query is not running. Your database performance is down. So not everything is related to database performance. Sometimes there are other issues. So don't start into database tuning, query tuning, or running the AWR reports. There are some preliminary steps that you need to follow before you go on to those level of reporting. So first, always check the logs. And we can see that, okay, this guy is waiting from past 20 minutes. What can we do? Okay, let me first walk you through further more queries. So guys, in this menu, you can see find block session, find lock wait time, and then we have another query, find blocked SQL. Can you actually see what query has been blocked? That is again very important to your client. Sometimes you want to know what, okay, let me open up this one. Sometimes you want to know because this session is being run in Singapore and sorry, this is in India, right? And DBA is in the Singapore. So as a DBA, we want to know what SQL is running in India that is waiting. Now that we know, okay, this session is blocked, 28 is blocked from past 20 minutes, but I want to know what query this 28 user is running. For that, we have this query. So this query is awesome, guys. If you run this one, I love this query. So if I hit enter, the best part is it will ask you enter the block session ID. Can you see enter value for the enter block session ID? And block session ID is 28. So what I would do is I'll type 28 and hit enter. Can you see? It will give you the insert into test1 values 1,9999. This command is waiting for past 20 minutes by the session number 28. This is very important data, very critical data for your client. Now the question is, okay, before I get into the main question, I need to walk you through one more command. Find the lock table. So now we know, okay, you might say like, okay, Arun, with this query, I can see the table name, but sometimes let's take if you are not running this query and you directly want to know which table has been locked. So you run this query. This is very important query. So these two queries you run interchangeably depends on what type of output you want. Now I want to know which table has been blocked. So we'll run it in full screen. Okay. Okay, I think I need to still adjust the screen, but I guess you guys will get this output. Sorry, set lines, it should be 999. Okay, now can you see? The session ID is 40. Oracle username, the user who logged into the database. So sys user is logged into the database. You can even get the operating system name. So the sys user is connected to the server via the Oracle user inside the server, and process ID I'll talk later. Table locked, you can get the name of the table locked, table owner is the sys user is the owner, and what is the level of lock. As I mentioned earlier, we have row level locks, table level locks. This information good to know, but you can't do anything with this information. As a DBA, you don't work on locks. You work on layer 2, right? What is layer 2? Blocking session and waiting session. All right. So now that we got all the information, I mean, we got everything, right? We got the waiting time. We got the SQL that session 2 is waiting. We got the table that is locked. We have all these amazing queries. Now tell me, guys, I want to know from a fresher DBA, what should you do? You know everything now. You know everything. Session 2 is waiting. The user 2 is calling and telling, hey man, what happened? It's been 30 minutes. I'm still waiting. Your DBA team is waste. You don't know how to resolve the issues. What will you do? Ikechi, man of the evening. Where is Ikechi?
Yeah.
Ikechi, what will you do if you fall under this situation?
Come again. I didn't understand the question. Sorry.
This user B is calling you and okay, I'm user B, okay? I issued this command. You are the DB and I'm telling you, hey Ikechi, what's going on, man? My session is waiting for past 30 minutes. You can't even repair the database. This database is waste. Delete this database, drop this database, or you leave the job. What will you do?
Okay, so I'll find out the session that is blocking, that's causing the block. Then I will try to...
No, you have all information. You have already found the information. Now what will you do? I'm still calling you and shouting at you. What
Okay,
you...
okay, I will get in touch with the user that is causing the blockage and ask him, okay, you should take a decision either to commit or to roll back.
Perfect.
That's good. That's very good.
Amazing, amazing. Actually, I'm really surprised. Like you got it to the point. So amazing, Ikechi. Great. So, guys, anyone else want to put some inputs from your real-time experience?
Yes, Arun, you can run a query and it will give you the alter system kill session with the process and the user and the what session is blocking. So alter system kill session will, you can kill this session.
Right. That's secondary. Like I want to know at this situation when this user is shouting, what do we do? So I think Ikechi got it perfectly well. So guys, as I always say, where is our slide? Over here, you work on the layer 2, right? So your job, when you identified the blocking session, you identified the waiting session, your job in real time is a little bit different. First, let me talk what you should do. At this stage, you get in touch with the blocking session and tell the user, hey, either you commit or roll back. You have to say that. And you have all the authority to tell the user because let's say they forgot or they went on a holiday, something might happen. So you first get in touch with the user, you figure out, you tell them, do you want to commit or roll back? That's the first thing. Now you might have a question like, Arun, what if the user has left for the day, for the weekend, and we are not able to get in touch? That's the exact time you have to get in touch with your client or the owner of the database or the people for whom you're working as a DB or the application team owner. So if user is on holiday, then definitely user reports to some manager or team lead or executive manager. You need to get in touch with that manager and ask, hey, listen, this user issued a command which is not committed. What should we do as a DBA? Because there is another user who's waiting. So this is a question to be answered by the client. You do not decide what has to be done. You are an identifier. Trust me guys, in locks, so many people say like, oh, locks, database locks, we have to work, we need to understand. You are only lock identifier as a DBA. You identify the locks, report the lock. So now that we, in our database, we have identified the lock, our job is to report it to the client. Hey, we have a session number 40, which is blocking, or a session number 28, or we can say 28 is waiting for past 40 minutes, right? So client has to give you heads up what has to be done. Client might say, hey, you know what? This user, I'm not sure what the user was trying to insert. Do one thing, kill the session because the user has left for the day, and as and when the user you as a DBA, you kill the session, immediately this command will execute. All right. There are two things. Client might say like, hey, this user went for the day. I'm not sure what the user was trying to insert. So try to kill the session. We don't need those queries, and allow this user to continue. Or the client might say, hey, listen, I know what John was trying to insert and I was working with John. I'm not sure if he committed or not. Do not kill this session, but kill the waiting session, because like manager might say, I will continue to work with John on Monday on the queries that we inserted. So we do not want anyone else to touch the data. So your client might say, hey, you can go ahead and kill the waiting session and tell them to change their query, or do not try to insert, update, delete those specific records. So there are only two cases that might happen. So let us assume 99% what client will say, hey, listen, this guy, this bugger, he went on a break and he's not coming. Do one thing, kill this session so that this session will proceed. Now that you have got the authority, okay, I can kill the session. So what you do is, by the way, read this one, resolving locks in Oracle. This is very important. As per Oracle database properties, the blocked or waiting session will continue to wait until these three things will happen. The blocking session issues a commit, the blocking session issues a rollback, or the blocking session disconnects from the database. These three things should happen. Otherwise, the block session will continue to wait. You can see this session is still waiting. If I hit enter also, nothing will happen. So as a DBA, the only way you can help resolve a lock conflict is by killing either the blocking session or by killing the waiting session. Those are the only two ways to resolve a lock. Or first thing is, you get in touch with the user, you ask them, hey, what do you want to do? You get in touch with the blocking user, you get in touch with the waiting user. Then if both of them are not agreeing, then you get in touch with their managers and ask them what to do. So before you decide which session to kill, you must send the information to application team to get their approval on which session to be killed. Don't take your own decisions. This is something needs to be addressed by the application team. So now you have a query. Let's take application team says, in our case, I am the application owner, and Ikechi came to me saying like, hey Arun, some user from India is shouting at me saying like, my session is waiting, what should I do? And I'm the manager. I would say, hey Ikechi, you do one thing, go ahead and kill the blocking session because that guy is left for the day. And the second guy is also from my team and he is continuing the work. So I think second guy should be allowed. So what I would do is I would kill the session 1. All right. So for this is where all the queries that we have ran will come into picture. So before that, you need to look at the syntax of the killing session. Alter system kill session is the command. You need to give the SID, the session ID inside the Oracle, and the serial number. Remember guys, I mentioned I'll talk about the serial number later on. So now that we have ran so many queries, if I go up, okay, blocking status, you can see. So serial ID 40 is blocking. That means we need to kill the blocking session. That is 40. So 40 is the session ID and the serial number. You can see blocked. So this is blocked serial number. Guys, this is, be very careful. Don't try to kill the waiting session. So better what you do is like, don't go through the queries. Just look at any one or try to run the first query. We can see blocking session is 40. Client said kill the session 40. So what you do is select serial number, or I would say SID comma serial number from V dollar session where SID equal to 40. This is the exact query you need to run to know the serial number. Now what you can do is alter system kill session, give the SID that is 40 comma, give the serial number and hit enter. But before I hit enter, where are our other sessions? Session 1, session 2. Now see the beauty what happens. So Ikechi, if I hit enter, what should happen or what will happen? What will happen to session 2? I am killing the session 1, the one that is blocking.
Yes, the session 2 will be free to proceed with his work in session or whatever he wants to do.
Okay, I am hitting enter, okay, and then see. Can you see? One row created. It happened immediately, right? So session 1 has been killed now. So what I will do is I'll run some queries to see select star from test underscore 1. Ikechi, what will happen if I hit enter?
Yeah.
This session has been killed, but I'm still connected to SQL. What will happen?
You're not going to see you're not going to see anything there.
Why?
Because you've killed it. It's going to show you that it's been killed.
So now you cannot run any commands in this session because it has been killed from the instance level. So this session has been killed. You have to exit SQL Plus and reconnect. Simple. Okay. So guys, like for experienced DBS, okay, I have also specified important views. These are the important views. If you want, you can definitely look at them. And I have kept some important links for you. These are links to our own internal DB Genesis articles. So sometimes your client might ask you to create a blocking report inside the database. Like there was a client, I created this kind of report for a client. So we had to create a report like this, like database block session report. So blocking session 252, object owner name, sys.log test, object type table, session blocked 262 and end report. So you can run this query inside the database to get a report like this and send that report to your clients. Like you can copy, paste into email and send it. So that way your life becomes easy and you can always give this report on a timely manner. You can schedule inside database and then you can get the lock report to yourself. So guys, couple of things before we conclude our session. The thing is locks are not bad inside the database. So if there is a lock that happens, there might be a certain reason, like if a query is updating 1 million rows, definitely the other session needs to wait. Okay, so it doesn't mean that killing the session is always the solution. But in a situation like this where one stupid guy who was inside the database who went on a break or a weekend holiday without even committing the data, this creates a problem to the other users. So there are situations when locks are very good. You need to wait. Let's take session 1 is updating 1 million records. It will take time to update those records and the user will issue a commit once the update is done. So the user 2 will have to wait until the user 1 finishes the update record, the update command, and then issues a commit. All right. So locks are not always bad. You don't go ahead and start killing the sessions. And by the way, just to tell you, if you run a block report in a live database, there will be thousands of sessions that are blocked, locked and all. but then they get released automatically as and when users start issuing commit and rollback. So as a DBA, your job is not to right away start killing the sessions. Your job is when a user is complaining, hey, my query is not executing, and then you work with the user, like what is the query you are executing? Okay, how long it happened, like you're waiting. That's the exact time you start debugging like this, like how we have run all the commands, identified the sessions, and then work on it. So that's, I mean, this report is important in case if you want to use it, always welcome.
One question, Arun. Now, session 2 was waiting for session 1 to complete. Now, assume that there is another fourth guy who is trying to insert 10,000 records in a different table, say table 2. Will it affect him?
It's atomicity, right? Why would tables get affected? They will continue to, because that other user is installing in a different table, right? So that will continue. Yes. Great, great. I think these kind of sessions I personally enjoy because this is something I deal in almost day in, day out. Because there are a lot of clients who get into locks and we have to work with database locks. So if you come back to me saying like, Arun, you never talked about row exclusive, table exclusive, row inclusive, table inclusive, of course, those kind of locks does not exist. I'm just making up. If you come back to me saying like, Arun, what type of lock is this and all, I will never answer because as a DBA, as I mentioned earlier, you never work in layer 1. You do not deal with the type of lock that has been granted by Oracle. So don't waste time in those areas. This is completely in the hands of Oracle. What type of lock should be given on a particular table or transaction. All right. Your job as a DBA, you work in layer 2. So if you want to know types of locks in Oracle and all, I would request you can always study further. Amazing. I think tomorrow's session will be even great because unfortunately guys, like I love the performance tuning part, but unfortunately it's hard. Like this is not a complete performance tuning training. So what I would do is I would walk you through the very important and critical components in performance tuning that is enough for you to identify a problem and enough for you to understand what to do. All right. But
unfortunately, I'm not going with you. I will be absent because I have an operation in office. It's a rack. It's a rack patching.
Okay.
And I apologize. And unfortunately, I will look the video later.
Oh, sure. No problem. So yeah, guys, like as I always say, I know most of the experienced DBAs, you might have a lot of questions in performance tuning, but unfortunately, I won't be able to accommodate the zones in performance tuning because there are multiple zones that we need to go through. But as I mentioned, I would definitely make sure you are able to identify an issue and you know how to resolve it. Like for database recovery, if you remember, I tried to make it as simple as possible by giving you 3-step formula, like first focus on no mount stage, then focus on mount stage, then open stage. The same way in performance tuning, I'll try to give you my personal formula. If there is a problem, how do you approach it? But trust me guys, it's a different world together. It needs its own training. It needs its own zone to learn complete performance tuning. I definitely have like this is from 2017, not from recently. I always have this in mind to take a performance tuning training, which I've been failing in my own promise, but that's okay. Maybe in near future, I would definitely want to take it. By the way, guys, just for your understanding, because I want to make sure I stand by my words, if you go to DBA Genesis, remember guys, we discussed about projects. So I have introduced this tab called as projects. Don't worry, nothing is there. So it's like we have mentioned coming soon. So I mentioned my idea over here, like it's to the point idea. You learn faster while you do something than traditional theory and practical approach. So I want to try and test this idea. So we'll be introducing projects over here. But if you are someone who wants to be informed when these projects are launched, try to send this email. I'm sorry guys, this process is a little complicated, but now my focus is more on projects than simplifying how you apply for the project. So don't worry, maybe in future we'll simplify, but for now, if you are somebody who want to be part of the projects team and want to work on projects to kind of like learn things, then you can definitely send that email. And of course, these projects will be chargeable, but these will challenge you to move you completely out of your comfort zone. For example, like installing 100 databases in 50 servers. It might happen. So we pick up the real-time projects and create an environment for students to execute it. So these projects, don't get it confused by real-time projects. We are not allowing you to work for DB Genesis clients. We are allowing you to work on a project that is simulated environment. So we will create a server for you. We'll create a scenario for you. You will have a reporting manager, and then you execute the task. And I because for simulating this environment, definitely there are costs involved getting you servers. Let's take if you're installing Oracle on 50 servers, then we need to give you access to 50 servers. So definitely a cost is involved, and that's why these projects will be a little bit priced a little higher, because over here real infrastructure is involved. Let's take how do you migrate a standalone database to 4-node rack. Over here, if you see, 5 servers are involved. So these projects will be costly, but the beauty is like at one shot, you are learning a lot of stuff. So guys, I think we can wind up for today. We just have 1 minute. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and then we'll pack it up.